Atomic Monsoon.
Welcome to the Monsoon. Hello and welcome to the Atomic Monsoon.
Monsoon!
How you doing, everybody? It's just me and Andy today.
Hey,
Dealing with just the boys today.
where'd Stephanie go?
Unfortunately, she's
No longer with us?
She actually has a life and things
Oh,
that like
okay.
she does.
Yeah.
I think she's doing one for Saber Things this weekend, isn't she?
It's Winterguard, actually.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Their championships or something are today.
I know she's a Jedi. I just don't know what days she's a Jedi.
Most days.
Yeah,
I think it's Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. She's a Jedi.
Oh, okay.
So, and then con weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's WonderCon this weekend.
Yeah, it is.
Not
it is.
here, but
yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on this weekend, and there's going to be a ton of news next week.
yeah, this
But
week.
in the meantime,
not
not
so
a whole
much.
lot of stuff
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, but-
A little bit. We got a few things to talk about, but we're
Yeah.
probably going to be geeking out a little bit about comics today, I think.
I like
think
comics.
There's something that's right now currently out and some issues that I kind of wanted to talk about. We'll touch on that, and then we can BS about whatever else is going on, and just kind of talk a little bit of comic books and enjoy Andy and I just kind of geeking out for a little while.
Yeah.
Once we get through a little bit of news topics.
Yeah, well, before all of that, I got to thank our friends at Def M Records.
Yes, always.
Thanks to Def M All Stars for providing us with our excellent entrance music. And if you like what you hear, too bad you can't buy it. But you can go to defmrecords.com and listen to the bands that all have members that donated a member to us so that we can have excellent theme music.
Yes.
So, go check out defmrecords.com. I know I sound like a broken record when I say that because I say it every week, but that was the deal, is we get music and we have to promote them. So we get to promote them.
Yes.
We get to promote them.
Because the music is good.
It is. And they're all...
Our introduction wouldn't be as good without it. So.
Everyone over there is good dudes. Like, I've met quite a few people at Def M Records. Everyone there is good. They're independent artists. They're all worthy of your support. They're not signed to any major labels. Money is going... I mean, a percentage of it goes to Bandcamp because they're, trying to provide their service, but the money goes right to the artists. Right?
Yeah.
There's no record companies, no middleman. There's the people providing the service so you can get the music, and then the people who are making the music.
Yeah.
So go.
No shady corporate record company
Right.
overlords.
Right.
It's just...
Yeah. And
what is the music industry equivalent of the Men in Black? I'm trying to think. Suge Knight? No.
the No Limit Soldiers? I don't know.
I don't know
enough about how the music industry works.
I just always, whenever I think of like shady things in music, I just always think about that story of him hanging Vanilla Ice outside of a balcony, like by his ankles. Like,
yeah.
Whether or not that's true, who knows?
It's a good it's a good story though, right?
Right here,
Yeah.
shady in music industry. It's just like,
if
that's true, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, none of that at Def M Records. You should support good people, support independent people, support talented people. Buy local. Although I don't know where local is for you, but they're local to us here out in the desert. So go support them. They're good dudes. I like them.
Yeah, anytime you can support
music,
an independent artist is always a good time.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of independent artists.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I know we said we were going to talk about comics, but I have one bit of video game news this week.
Oh, yeah, I got something to do. We got plenty of news to talk about before we get into our meat and potatoes of the conversation.
Yeah. So Yacht Club Games. You might know their name from the game Shovel Knight.
Oh, Shovel Knight.
Yeah.
That's a fun little retro game.
That is a fun little retro style game. They announced their next project.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
It's going to be called Cyber Shadow.
Cyber Shadow.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mad Max but ninjas. It looks like. But
you had me at Mad Max.
Yeah.
And really had me at ninjas.
Yeah. So they describe it as the level design principles of Mario, the skills and action of Ninja Gaiden, the enemy designs of Contra, and the dark visual aesthetic of Sunsoft's Batman.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's those some heavy hitters from the retro area.
Yeah.
Man,
that's
that
like
Sunsoft Batman game. I put so many hours into that.
That game is so good and so hard, and I've never beaten that game, and I should.
Really?
Yeah, I keep the soundtrack to it on my phone. But
I couldn't do it today, but when I was a kid, man.
Yeah. It's just a matter. I got to sit down and do it. You know
what? I tried playing Blaster Master a couple weeks ago. I downloaded it on my 3DS. I used to be able to just get through that game no problem. I'd have some trouble at the end of it. You get to there.
Right.
I could barely get past the first boss anymore. I'm like, oh my God, how hard these games were.
I was playing Golden Axe 2 the other night before I went to bed, just sitting on my Switch, because I bought the Genesis pack. And I was playing Golden Axe 2, and I got halfway through the game and I ran out of continue. I was like, what happened? I used to be able to beat this game in my sleep.
Yeah.
You know, and I was awake. I was going to sleep, and I just couldn't do it. So
Yeah. You know, I would occasionally like poke fun at like when I'd see these, you know, retro remakes or collection games and stuff like that, and it'd have on there like infinite continues or like don't worry about it, infinite lives. You know, you can play through. I'd be like, why do you need that? I remember playing that game on the Super Nintendo. It was fine.
Yeah, and then you play it again.
Now, and I'm like, yeah, that's my reflexes aren't what they used to be.
Needed those infinite lives. Yeah. Turtles in Time is my favorite example. I used to be able to beat that game in 18 minutes with continues on hard, right? Like I would just set it to 5 or 7 lives or whatever the highest setting was, right? And I would just go through Turtle in Time on Super Nintendo, and I can't beat the game without continuing anymore. Never mind in 18 minutes. Like, so it turns out your skills deteriorate when you don't keep them up.
Oh yeah. So well, I mean, for me the perfect example was Battletoads.
Oh yeah.
At one point in time, I had that third level with the
turbo tunnel.
The turbo tunnel.
Yeah.
I had that down. We could get by it every time. Like, you know, just every single time.
Yeah.
Even with knowing what's coming, I can't hardly do it now. Like I can occasionally, but like just like man, I just.
So that is one level where I do make sure I keep my skills up because no one has ever seen past that level. So that one I'm like every like year or so I'm like, let me pop in Battletoads, make sure I can still do the turbo tunnel. All right, cool. Just in case someone comes over like, hey, have you played Battletoads? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, because I've still got my old school NES copy and everything like that.
Right,
but man.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
But going back to Cyber Shadow. The level design principles of Mario, skills in Ninja Gaiden, enemy designs of Contra, aesthetic of Sunsoft's Batman. If you haven't played those 4 games, by the way, do yourself a favor, go find them.
Yeah.
Go buy Mario 3, go buy Ninja Gaiden, any 3 of them on Nintendo. Go buy Contra or Super C, and go buy Sunsoft's Batman.
You can get a lot of those games if you have a Wii U or any of the Nintendo. You can get a lot of those on Virtual Console.
Mario 3, one of the Ninja Gaidens, I believe, and Super C are all on the NES Classic mini thing. Sunsoft's Batman's like $20 at the most expensive now. So or I don't condone emulation, but these games aren't. Batman's not in print. Sunsoft doesn't have the license.
Does Sunsoft even exist anymore?
They got bought by Blizzard.
Oh, okay.
So they're part of the Blizzard family. Blizzard doesn't have the Batman license, so you're not going to be able to get that game unless you find an actual cartridge. So no one's losing money, whatever. Anyways, those games are great. Soundtrack to Cyber Shadow is going to be done by Jake Kaufman, who did the soundtrack to Shovel Knight. What's the rhythm game? I didn't write it down.
Parappa the Rapper?
No, it's another one of the retro style ones. They just announced a Zelda update.
Oh, like the Final Fantasy rhythm kind of? Those ones?
Yeah, okay. He did the soundtrack to that as well. Double Dragon Neon, he did the soundtrack for that one. Anyways, Jake Kaufman's great. He's done a lot of really cool game soundtracks more in the more modern era. He'll be doing Cyber Shadow. And Yacht Club Games wanted to specify that they, is Arn Mechaskull Hunziger? Hunzinger? I don't know how to pronounce any of his names except for his nickname Mechaskull. Anyways, he's going to be doing most of the development for the game by himself. Yacht Club's just acting as a publisher for this. So, yes, it's from the guy. It's put out by the guys that made Shovel Knight, but they're
kind of doing a little bit of the legwork for the the little thing.
Basically, they saw the game like, this is awesome. Let's hook you up with the resources you need to finish it, and we'll put it out. Because this game needs to get out there. So
that's good.
Yeah. So
he can farm off like, hey, here's the main enemy. Now make it do this.
Right. Yeah. Or even he can make it do that. Yeah. But sometimes you need money so you can eat while you're making your game.
Yep. This is very true.
And sometimes just because you're good at programming games doesn't mean you can program music.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about the crowdfunding world. You can make things wonderfully if you get the support behind the people like yourself. Unfortunately, you kind of have to have a bit of a following to get it going, so it's kind of hard for new creators. It's great for people like the Critical Role folks who are over $8 million now on their Kickstarter.
Jiminy Christmas, and they asked for $75K,
$750,000 was their goal.
Okay, so $750,000.
They $750,000. They were trying to get over a month. That was their long term goal was to see if they could get that. And they've blown that out of the water. What they had announced after blowing it out of the water the first day, once they had like 4 million or whatever it was that first day, was like, okay, we'll put a crazy stretch goal up of 8.5 million because there's no way we'll be able to get that. And they've still got like 15 days left.
And they're almost there.
They're almost there.
Okay. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if they put any more stretch goals on there and what's going on. But they're doing very, very well, which I'm glad to see that because I love the Critical Role games. But it's just fun to see things like that happen when there's people that put out something independent and it gets funded. It's just it's fun.
Speaking of funding things, Yesterday, Wednesday. I don't know, sometime this week.
That day.
Humble Bundle.
Oh yeah.
They do cool things, right? Is hey, here have a whole bunch of stuff real cheap, and we'll give some of the money to charity. Humble Bundle and IDW just teamed up, and they put almost the entire 13-year run of Transformers comics up for $15 at the top tier.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I have them all. It's 3 short boxes.
Yeah.
Right? Which means it's a long box and a half of comics. And they put it up for $15. I have spent over $700, Josh, collecting this series over the last 13 years.
Yeah, I believe it.
And you could just go get it for $15. What's
digital though?
It is digital, right? Right. So it is digital format.
That is the difference there, though.
Yeah, you're not.
You have floppy copies,
right?
And that's a big difference.
And in truth, I have been buying. They've been doing this like once a year. Like I was like, hey, I have a bunch of Transformers comics, and so I have been buying those so that I can have them digitally as well.
Yeah.
And so I did buy this to complete, basically everything.
Yeah. It's $15. I've been thinking about doing it. I don't even have anything to read them on right now, and I'm thinking about grabbing it
just so you have them.
Just so I have them, so that when I do have something like a good tablet or something, like, oh hey, I have.
Yeah.
7 years worth of Transformers to go read, so let's go do that. 13 years. 13 years.
Yeah.
13 years.
There is some stuff missing. If you're hardcore into that IDW Transformer comics, there are so the spotlights are missing. There are a couple of one shots here and there that are missing. The Infestation crossover where they fight zombies, and then the Infestation 2 where they fight Cthulhu monsters. Like those issues are missing, but they're not.
Interesting.
Yeah. The Infestation
is the G.I. Joe Transformer stuff in there?
Some of it.
Okay.
The issues that involve the Transformers are in there. The ones that involve like Mask and like Action Man and they left those ones out. Basically, they put all the trades digitally and stuck them all up there.
Okay.
So you get the trade paperbacks, graphic novels, or whatever you want to call them, and they left out the ones that are like it doesn't have the Transformers in it for the crossovers.
Yeah.
So Revolution.
Well, that makes sense. It's not a Transformers comic for the Transformers bundle.
Yeah. So with Revolution, there's the Revolution and the Revolution Transformers trades, but they left out the Revolution Heroes one. So you don't.
Because wasn't there a full G.I. Joe Transformers run?
There was, not by IDW.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. There is the Hasbro Shared Universe crossover stuff.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's so the Revolution and First Strike and
I just remember seeing something on the shelf. I don't remember.
Yeah. Devil's Due did one. Image did one. Marvel did one.
It was probably an Image one that I remember seeing.
Yeah. Dreamwave did one, I think.
God, it might even be a Dreamwave.
Yeah. And then IDW did reprint some of them as well when they first got the license, because they were like, well, these are cool and they just came out, and let's keep them in print so we can keep selling them so we can make money off other people's work.
Yeah, why not?
Which, fair enough, right? Like, they didn't know how long they were going to keep the license.
Yeah.
14 years later, they've still got it. And we're 2 issues into the new series, which, is fine. But I can't compare. It's not fair to compare 2 issues to 13 years of comics.
No,
right?
not at all.
So So if you like Transformers, if you like cheap comics, if you like good deals, and if you want, quite frankly, the best comic in the last several years that no one was reading in Transformers More Than Meets the Eye, and you want to get it cheap, $15 is the cost of one of the graphic novels.
Oh yeah.
Right. So Transformers More Than Meets the Eye. Anyone who was reading that book constantly was putting it on their top comics of the year list for the 6 years it was coming out.
Oh, wow.
And the only people who didn't put it on there were people who weren't reading Transformers. So,
okay.
And we would, the community was like, no, read this. And people would buy it and be like, oh, wow. I didn't expect a Transformers comic to actually be good. I expected it to be, we were cashing in on the you don't keep a license for 13 years when you're putting out fluff. Well,
unless you're Michael Bay.
Well, that's fair. But even he only got 5 shots at it.
Fair enough.
Which is a lot more than he probably got, although he was making a lot of money.
But isn't his production company still producing?
Yeah, they did do the Bumblebee movie. Mm-hmm. The license is with Paramount, though. It's not with Platinum Dunes. Oh, so okay. Paramount could shift over to somebody else at any point. I don't know if they're going to, right? Yeah. I don't know that necessarily makes sense to, because they've made a lot of money.
They've been making money with them.
Yeah.
Regardless of how Transformers fans feel about those movies, they've been making money.
There's a lot of Transformers fans who love those movies too.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, it's not G1, it's not Beast Wars, it's not Armada, whatever, but it's
kind of the way I look at
still
it.
a Transformers movie. So
20 different versions of the Transformers. This is just one other version of them.
Right. And that's how I look at it too. It's like, as much as I didn't like the first movie, I was like, cool, I'm just not going to watch the rest of them.
Yeah.
Right. And then I saw
So I
Bumblebee.
kind of feel like that Bumblebee movie is kind of like, this is the start of another version of Transformers.
So it's funny because when they put it out, like Paramount wasn't saying if it was a reboot or just a prequel.
Yeah.
And now that it's successful, they're like, yeah, it's a hard reboot. Okay, cool. Those other movies didn't happen. We're starting over.
Did they? I heard that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm on a bunch of the Transformers subreddits, so I see every little bit of news.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, Humble Bundle, and it's only up for like 2 weeks. So you get like 10 days, maybe 8 days from when you hear this. You get like a week and a half. Humblebundle.com, look at the book bundles, go on there. It's March 30th.
Check out Humble Bundle anyway. They've got stuff on there all the time.
Yeah, if you like video games, if you like books, if you like comics, if you like every month, they're just like, here's a whole bunch of crap. It's like $8 and half that money goes to charity and you get, 30 games and you really only want to play 3 of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like...
And it's going to charity. Like even if it's like, I really want to play that game, and it's only $5 for that one game, but I get a bunch of other crap too. Like, who cares?
And $3 of those are going to the Red Cross or the ASPCA or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
pay the $5 to get the game you wanted to play or a book you wanted to read or whatever it is. And it's going to charity. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's a great way to pick up some of those random little things that you wanted to get, but you just kind of put it off.
Right.
Great way to get some of those things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got a bunch of Archie comics that way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was reading Archie's Mega Man series, and they did the crossover with Sonic, and I was like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to get those in digital trades rather than like have to pull out the single issues every time I want to read them. And then it was like, also here's a whole bunch of other stuff by Archie, and I was like, you know what? I've never really sat down with Archie. Sure, let me sit down and read some of these.
Was it like the old school Archies from like when they did the little like tiny books that were in the grocery store checkout line, or is it okay?
Yeah. The Mark Waid, Veronica Fish stuff hadn't, like, that reboot hadn't started yet. It was like the lead up to that.
Okay.
So it was like, here's a bunch of classic Archie before you go and buy the new version. And I there was like a 3-month period where I'd sit down and read a couple issues of Archie before I went to bed, because I was like, this is a lot of fun. Like, I'd put on like the Doo-Wop channel on Pandora and just like read Archie. It was a good time.
Watch some Happy Days.
Yeah. So, what else we got going on here?
Well, there's a little bit of video game news.
Sure.
There's a trade show going on right now. A little PAX East, I believe it is.
PAX East is going on right now.
And Borderlands. Gearbox yesterday had their show, and it went horribly.
Oh no!
Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Like there, the previews for the the trailers for the new game and everything. Just it was all stuttery when they were trying to do it. They had to restart it like 5 times.
Oh boy!
There was a bunch of awkwardness on stage and everything. But the actual trailer for Borderlands 3 looks amazing.
Okay.
So good news, we're getting Borderlands 3. If you're a Borderlands fan,
sure.
People have been waiting for it for a long time. So and they were poking a little bit of fun during the show about people were wondering for a while what it's going to be, if it's going to be a battle royale or what, and like the crowd just booed like crazy.
Oh no!
And and they just laughed. They're like, "Don't worry, we're not doing that."
Okay.
The crowd went absolutely nuts. And they tried to show the video and it didn't work.
Oh no!
But they announced that, so we're getting that. They haven't put out a release date for it as of when we're talking. That may change throughout the weekend. Yeah. But as of us recording this, there's no release date for it.
Okay.
But the 4th of April, we are getting a remastered version of the first Borderlands on Xbox, PS4, and the PC.
Isn't that like 5 days from now? That's like next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
surprise announcement. Like it had gotten leaked a little bit. Like there was a couple places that had like seen like a posting for Borderlands remaster and stuff like that, but nobody had a release date or anything like that. Okay. And yesterday at the thing when they were like, "Oh yeah, here's Borderlands 3." And oh, by the way, we have this coming out as well. So
nice.
And they redid a bunch of it. Like the loot system's different. They fixed a lot of bugs in it. They added new cosmetics and did different things. And you're getting the game with all the DLC, everything from the original Borderlands, just tightened up.
Okay.
In a
do you know
upgraded for the new system. So it should be really good. I imagine it'll be value with its value. They haven't put out a price point for it yet.
Right.
But I imagine just because of the way a lot of the other places have done it, it'll probably be like $40.
Yeah.
It might be more than that, but I would be surprised if it wasn't
even
$40.
Full price, getting it, with all the DLC and stuff, you're still, getting a deal there.
Just because it is like, I mean, you can
and there's a lot of DLC for those games.
Yeah, and you can go to like a GameStop and get the, backwards compatible Xbox 360 version of it.
Sure, yeah.
For next to nothing.
Okay.
That's Game of the Year edition that has all the DLC anyway. It's just not upgraded for the HD.
Right.
So I have a feeling like they might price it at $60. I don't think they will. I have a feeling this is going to be like a Goodwill kind of thing, and they're going to put out $40
but
and
it's
be like
both of them, right?
No. It's just Borderlands 1.
Just the first one.
They also announced a 4K version of Borderlands 2 and the Borderlands prequel.
Okay.
And they actually are putting out a pack that you can get all three of them together with the 4K update.
Okay.
In one package.
All right.
Or if you're like me and I already have the Handsome Jack collection that's got the first two or the second one, the prequel in it. And I've got the original one on 360.
Right.
Hey, you can just go ahead and buy just the one by itself for the 4K update with all the HD and everything like that. So
all right, so
they're
that's
offering,
cool.
they're doing it both ways.
Giving
so.
you options for
yeah. Because I don't want to buy all those games again.
Right.
When I already own the HD version of the sequel and everything.
Right,
So, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
But,
which is actually kind of one of the bummers about the Humble Bundle thing is that, like, man, I kind of wish I could just buy the new ones and not the ones that I had already bought.
Yeah.
But then I thought I was like, yeah, but even at $15, that's that's still less than it would have cost me to just get the new stuff. So it's fine. Yeah.
Even if you singled out just the ones you were missing, it still would cost you more.
Right. Do you know what platforms Xbox One and PS4 probably,
and
right?
PC.
And PC, but no Switch announcement
They didn't
yet?
say anything about it, but a lot of things are getting ported over to Switch. And,
true.
And this is a game that's on Xbox, so depending on how the Xbox app stuff goes with the Switch, this you
could
very well may be able to stream it to your
Yeah.
Switch and just play it that way. We'll see how all that kind of stuff goes.
I did forget to mention Cyber Shadow will be on Switch, PC, PS4, Xbox One. There is no release date yet, so but we're
going to be getting a lot of announcements for games over the next week. That we'll probably won't get release dates for most of them.
Sure, but
we're going to get announcements
sometime this year, sometime next year.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that people are speculating what's going to get announced and what's not. And, so we'll see. There's always Elder Scrolls hubbub, and we'll see what comes out this weekend at PAX. But it should be fun. Next week we'll have, I'm sure, a huge list of things that we'll be able to release. Between that and WonderCon,
I feel like next week's going to be a lot like our episode coming soon to Geek Near You, where it's just us going through a list of things that'll be coming out. Yeah.
It'll be like a shopping day with playing D&D. It's just a long list of things.
What are you buying?
Yeah.
Speaking of eternal lists of things, this is one of those things where, in Hollywood, when you're in talks with someone, that just means you had a meeting.
Yeah.
It means you had a meeting and you said, hey, this might be mutually beneficial for us.
I had an idea. What do you think about this idea?
Right. However,
while talking over a sandwich.
Right, yeah. Or a salad, depending on who you are, right? For Marvel Studios' upcoming Eternals project, Angelina Jolie is apparently in talks to play one of the roles. So that's all that there was on the article I read. It was like, Angelina Jolie is in talks to play in the Eternals somewhere. And I was like, all right, cool. I haven't read the Eternals, so I don't know a lot about them. I know they're weird Jack Kirby characters. They're Jack Kirby characters. But I know it's one of the things Marvel Studios wants to do after Endgame and after they're kind of done with sequels to all the current characters.
Okay.
Considering how weird Guardians of the Galaxy is and how much fun they made those movies, Eternals can be cool.
Okay.
And after if Angelina Jolie does sign on, at a certain point it's going to be harder to ask who's not in Marvel movies at this point. So
do we know who she's in talks to be possibly?
I don't.
No.
I said, it was literally just Angelina Jolie in talks to play in the Eternals, and then I read the article and it was like that, but they took 2 paragraphs to say the headline.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, all right, well,
so literally it was a 2-paragraph thing about like, hey, all we know is she was there talking to somebody.
Yeah, basically. Hey, Angelina Jolie had lunch with somebody about maybe being in a movie.
Yeah, one of those things that gets leaked from a publicist, so that way people can see how much interest there actually is.
Probably, yeah. But still,
still interesting. Hey, we're talking about
it, so there's some interest. So yeah.
No, it'd be interesting to see how she did in one of those.
Yeah. I mean,
because I didn't think they were the best movies in the world. I did enjoy the Tomb Raider movies.
Sure,
I thought she was good in them.
Yeah, I saw the first one in theaters. I don't know if I ever saw Cradle of Life or not.
Yeah, it wasn't like the best movie or anything like that, but it wasn't the worst movie.
Right,
it was a movie. However, I did love the remake Tomb Raider that they did recently.
You?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I felt like that was one of those movies that just slipped by too many people. If you haven't seen that, go see it. Go
it came out at a bad time.
It did. And it wasn't marketed very well. Like they kind of screwed up on it. But that girl, she did perfect.
Okay.
Like, and it's a movie, so it's based on a video game, so it's not going.
Right. It's not going to break the world.
It's a movie based on a video game.
Right.
Just pop some popcorn and go watch it and have fun.
Right. Listen. I still love the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I do too.
I don't care that everyone just went ugh while they were listening to us. But
I can sit down anytime Masters of the Universe pops up on TV.
See,
I can sit down there and watch that, man.
Yeah.
His what's his name's portrayal of Skeletor,
Frank Langella.
Yeah. To this day, one of the best science fiction performances, I think.
Dennis Hopper's portrayal of Koopa is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But, whatever. If that movie wasn't called Super Mario Brothers... It's ridiculous,
but it was fun.
Right. If that movie was not called Super Mario Brothers and it was the exact same thing, you just changed a bunch of character names, people would be like, dude, this weird future punk movie, cyberpunk movie is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It'd just be this weird, cult classic thing like a Blade Runner or, right? Maybe not that high, but,
It'd be like an Attack of the Killer Tomatoes kind of thing. Just a cult classic, just like one of those weird, this is such a bizarre movie.
Yeah, what the hell is this? Yeah. But it's called Mario, so everyone's like, this isn't like Mario at all.
Yeah.
I was like, well, no, but also...
Have they been called lizard people from beneath the earth or from Dimension X or something like that?
Right, yeah.
It would be a Grindhouse movie classic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Apparently, the directors on that were rewriting the script daily.
Yeah. There's a documentary or something about it. I can't remember if it was something I read or watched. I don't remember, but
Bob Hoskins was drunk pretty much all the time when they were filming that movie. He was like, I can't believe this.
Most of them were either drunk or very, very, very high on different narcotics, and the stories were just nothing but horror stories every day on that set.
And somehow an okay movie came out of that.
Yeah.
Right. Again, not a great movie.
No.
Right. But not as good as the Tomb Raider movies, probably. But
I do remember I was fairly young and I couldn't get anybody to go see that movie with me. Wouldn't stop by myself at the theater because everybody was like, no.
So, Josh, which movie is better, Super Mario Brothers or the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter?
Oh, that's tough. Because I love Raul Julia.
Sure, yes.
And he was so good in the Street Fighter movie.
Yes.
The rest of that movie I could do without.
Okay.
But if you just gave me just his clips,
I
could just watch that over and over again. He was so good in that movie.
Yeah. You know what?
He was just so over the top and just...
Listeners, tell us, which do you prefer? Do you prefer the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie or the 1994 Street Fighter movie? Let us know. Hit us up on social media at Atomic Monsoon on Twitter, Atomic_Monsoon on Instagram. Just go to Facebook.com/Atomic Monsoon or just whatever you're on. Just find Atomic Monsoon. We're probably on there.
We forget things when Stephanie's not.
Yeah. I was, I even thought I should write down all of our social media so I don't have to do that. Go find us thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't. So just write Atomic Monsoon into whatever. Yeah.
What you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is in July, I'm going to pick up a couple of X-Men miniseries that got announced.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this is a terrible segue. Jonathan Hickman signed a deal with Marvel, and he hasn't been there since Secret Wars in 2015.
Yeah.
So as the guy who blew up the Marvel Universe, he did that. He went away. He did, was it Blue Monday Murders?
Wait, was that the one with God Emperor Doom?
Yes.
Was that Secret Wars?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that guy's coming back to do something with the X-Men.
Yeah.
And now that...
Isn't he the one that put them all into the leather outfits?
No, that was Grant Morrison.
Oh, was it? Okay,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah. No, John Hickman did the thing with the Council of Reeds and the Fantastic Four.
Oh, that's right.
And then the Time Runs Out thing with Avengers.
Yeah.
He's really good at planning out stories far into the future and having good long runs.
Yeah.
So instead, Marvel said, "Cool, we're going to give you two 6-issue X-Men miniseries that will come out on alternating weeks throughout July and August."
Huh.
So it's going to be called House of X and Power of X. So there'll be a couple of those coming out. I don't know if an artist has been announced for either one.
Okay.
But hey, John Hickman hasn't written X-Men before.
Yeah.
He's done basically all of Marvel's other big name characters. So Yeah, and I dig X-Men anyways, and the current run has been pretty good. So this
Yeah, wait for it once they get it collected. Now that Cyclops is back, I want to read this run once it's all collected and everything.
And the timing on this ends up where it'll finish. This is going to be coming out right at the end of the Age of X-Man crossover. Yeah. So, all the X-Men are going to fix whatever. I mean, or they'll die. I don't know. I'm going to presume the good guys are going to win. X-Men will fix the broken world. They'll all come back together, and then we get a John Hickman story. So, which will presumably set them on a path for the next several years, which will hopefully be a good one.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to return to status quo, or what are they going to do?
I don't know.
Because they brought Cyclops and Wolverine back.
Cyclops and Wolverine are back. Jean Grey's back. Gambit and Rogue are a couple again and married. And I just got caught up on Mr. and Mrs. X this week.
Cyclops and Kitty are still off again on it again?
Yeah, Colossus and Kitty are off again now.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I understand why people want them together because, they were introduced to the X-Men through Kitty Pryde and she left Colossus. And so people are like, oh, it's my one true pair. And I'm like, yeah, but...
I liked when they shipped her and Peter Quill. I enjoyed that one.
I just like that all of Kitty's boyfriends are named Peter.
Yeah, that is funny.
Right? Yeah.
She has a type, apparently.
Yeah. If your name's Pete, you probably get a good chance with Kitty Pryde. Yeah, or if you're Rachel Summers, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Chris Claremont has said that, no, I didn't mean for that to be subtext. That was text. I just couldn't say it because of the comics code. So, Kitty and Rachel were a thing during the Excalibur days. Yeah. So, good times. Anyways, John Hickman, X-Men, that'll be fun. But, hey, you had, you read some issues this week.
Yeah, I did. I hadn't had a chance to catch up on Young Justice.
Right. And so this is the Young Justice that we talked about when we first started the podcast back last year.
Yeah, that I was super excited about them relaunching because I am a huge Young Justice fan.
Okay, and you're talking the original series of Young Justice comics.
Yes.
Like not necessarily a TV show. Although, have you...
The TV show's good too.
Okay,
it doesn't follow, it's not a...
not an adaptation, just
it's like, hey, these young superheroes that aren't Teen Titans and they're not
the Justice League.
It's a good thing to do something else. They want to put some heroes in there.
They're too old to be Teen Titans, too young to be the Justice League.
Yeah, kind of. Well, and too young to be Titans because there's the Titans, the Teen Titans. There's the Justice League.
Yeah.
So and they're not. They were just kind of the. They were the sidekicks kind of thing. They were like the third iteration, It was Tim Drake who is
the third Robin. Right.
And he's Robin not by tragedy or anything like that. He's Robin because he figured out who Batman was, figured out Batman was having a bad time.
Right.
And tracked Batman down and said, "Hey, you need a Robin."
Yeah. Yeah, you haven't had one since Joker killed the last one.
And then the other two founding members of Young Justice were Superboy, Connor Kent.
Right, who was not the original Superboy.
No.
Because the original Superboy was Clark as a kid.
Yeah.
And he's not the current Superboy, which is Clark's son. Jonathan.
Yes.
Right.
He was the clone that was introduced during the Reign of the Superman, which was the event that happened right when Superman died.
Right, the one with the cool biker jacket.
Yes. They introduced him. He was, the 90s punk rock kid.
Yeah.
They had John Henry Irons, who's the Man of Steel. He was, he is now Steel in the comic books.
Still around as Steel.
They had the Eradicator, who nobody knew it was the Eradicator, except for those of us that had been reading it since the Jurgen days in the 80s going, "This is the Eradicator. He just doesn't have he's shooting beams and got the glide. It's the Eradicator." But nobody would listen.
I didn't. Yeah. So when that all happened, I hadn't been reading Superman. Yeah. So I was just like, "Hey, this Superman with the Bret Hart glasses is pretty cool."
Yeah. And it drove me nuts because at the time I remember in grade school, or not even grade school. It was, I don't remember what year it was. Whatever it was.
93?
But yeah, I remember.
Same year as the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah, I was having conversations about it and sitting there going like, no, it's this guy from these old comic books, and pulling out like an old Eradicator comic book where he's turned in a statue of, in the DC universe, there was Big Belly Burgers.
Okay.
There's like a statue of the guy with the Big Belly Burgers
thing. So it's like the Big Boy Burgers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And he turns it into make it look like a Kryptonian statue, so it's got all the ruffles and everything like the old school 80s Kryptonian way.
Nice.
It was a real tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, but it was a good character. So it was fun they brought him back. They brought back a character from obscurity and made him Cyborg Superman, and just fun little run. And Superboy came from all that.
Right.
And we can go off on the whole Reign of Superman at a different time.
I was absolutely convinced Cyborg Superman was the real Superman, but go on.
So many people were, especially because the first issue of him on his own, it was that issue where it was just all done by Ron Troop is the character. He's a reporter at the Daily Planet with Lois and Clark, and he was trying to fill Clark Kent's spot because Clark Kent was missing. Nobody knew where he was.
Right.
And Perry White needed somebody to report on this new Superman that is at the White House. Go.
Yeah.
So it's Ron Troupe, and they're kind of telling, just like, hey, here's the story of the Superman that showed up at the White House.
Well, and it was right after Terminator 2 had come out.
Yeah.
Right. And so here's a Superman that looks like the Terminator, and it's like, well, if you're going to update Superman for the 90s,
and they made him like of the Superman they had released, he was the super compassionate one. He was the one that sounded the most like Superman. He was talking about like righting wrongs and making sure things are okay and protecting things.
Like Steel was cool, but like he obviously wasn't the real Superman.
Yeah, he didn't pretend to be Superman.
No, and he was a black dude in a metal suit. Yeah. So it was like, all right.
And he was immediately fighting gangs. He wasn't trying to fight, to protect the planet or go find Doomsday's corpse like Superman. He immediately went.
And Superboy couldn't have been the real Superman because
he was a kid.
He was a kid. Yeah. He was a teenager, and de-aging is only a thing if you're Magneto and you need to tell stories about the Holocaust.
And you literally saw in the introduction of him big Cadmus Labs logos and the guys from Cadmus, and we've just gotten done with a big Clone Story arc. So
if you're not big into Superman, there's two characters left, and it's Cyborg or the Eradicator, right? And I was like, well, Eradicator was cool.
Like Superman,
right? Eradicator looked like Superman in an updated outfit with some red heart glasses.
And he had just enough information because he was the Eradicator,
right?
He had just enough information to be able to be like, I remember a name Kent, a farm, little things like that, and just enough information.
And then the Cyborg Superman looked like Superman, but a Terminator.
Yeah, and so he had the Kryptonian DNA and everything else because he was made from the Matrix, which was what brought Superman to Earth.
Right.
So he had taken part of that along with Superman's DNA and taken off into space, and there's a whole other long story. But anyway, Superboy was part of Young Justice.
Right.
We're kind of getting sidetracked here. I can talk about Superman all day. But so Superboy's part of that. And then we had Bart Allen, who was the third Flash, basically. You had Barry Allen.
Right.
Yeah. You had Barry Allen, who was the original Flash.
Yes.
And then his sidekick was Wally West.
Right, who is the original Kid Flash in the 60s. Yeah.
And part of Teen Titans and all that.
Yep.
And then and even further back, you had Jay Garrick and Mercury and stuff like that. So, he's even further back, but we're just going off of just the Flash.
Right.
So we're going, you had Barry Allen, he dies, Wally West becomes
The Flash. That was in Crisis in 86.
Yeah.
Right?
And there was no Kid Flash for a long time.
Right.
There was, that was an empty gap.
Wally graduated and joined the Justice League.
And they introduced Impulse, who was Barry Allen's grandson from a far-flung future.
Yeah.
We're talking like the Legion of Superheroes, like thousands of years in the future.
Okay.
Future.
Yeah, like great grandson.
Yeah, and just through DNA, he had inherited the Speed Force ability, but he was hyper-accelerated in growth.
Okay.
So he grew up in a matter of days in a virtual environment to the point of like 15.
Oh, wow, okay.
So his growth, everything was super hyper-accelerated. He grew up in a virtual environment, and he kind of didn't have the thought process of like, I can die from this, or things. So that's why his name was Impulse, and it was a fun character.
Yeah, and it was Humberto Ramos drew his comics in the 90s, right?
Yeah. So many people had like there was a bunch of like people that eventually had big DC careers that would, for the Superboy, Robin series, and Impulse series back in the 90s, like everybody, they just throw people on those all the time. Like, hey, we should do an issue of this and do an issue of that, kind of thing. Yeah. And they had all their core writers pretty much, like Chuck Dixon was pretty much just doing the Robin arc and everything like that. And he had some amazing stories in that Robin run and everything. But those were the three characters that were at the core of Young Justice.
Okay.
And then you got a couple others, like you had Wonder Girl, Cassie Sandmark, she came in there. You had a few other characters that came in and out. You had Arrowette.
Right.
There's another character, Secret, which I still really hope they bring back because she was an amazing character. But, the other characters other than Cassie Sandmark, Wonder Girl, the other characters were kind of
in and out.
You know what I mean? There was no major Young Justice characters aside from those ones.
Okay.
They are bringing back those core characters. We got Robin back, we got Superboy back, we got Impulse back, and we got Wonder Girl back. And it's not the new 52 versions of those characters, which they had rebrought, and they were so screwed up.
Right.
Except Tim Drake was still the same Tim Drake, but they had kind of screwed up his story too, but they brought it back again.
Yeah.
So it's back on track. Yeah. Same with Cassie Sandmark. She was still there, but they had given her some kind of weird, like...
Yeah. Well, and
changed her origin. Like, she was no longer a daughter of Zeus or a granddaughter of Zeus. Right. She was like kind of like she was an archaeologist that found her powers through like an armor of Ares or something. It was just got really weird and convoluted, and they scrapped all that stuff.
I forgot that the original New 52 Teen Titans book had those versions of
and then they brought Superboy in. He was still a clone of Superman, but it wasn't Connor Kent.
Right.
It was just bastardized version of it.
That comic was weird because it had Caitlin Fairchild from Gen 13 as one of the lab tech people, and I was like, I mean, that's cool. You're introducing, like, including all the Wildstorm characters in the reboot.
Well,
but like,
she was in the Superboy comics for a while.
Right, that's
too.
what I meant. Yeah.
So it was weird they were trying to. I don't know. But and then Robin had those weird, horrible like
wings.
Yeah,
like his falcon wings.
Yeah, it was just really like.
Yeah.
I get they were trying to give him like Nightwing style like growth point,
sure,
like trying to do something, but it was bad looking. It was bad.
You know,
to be fair though, I didn't like any of the costume changes other than Wonder Woman that they did for the new 52.
Okay, and I'm not going to fault DC for trying something different.
No,
you know, like, hey, they tried something, it didn't work.
Batman looked fine, the Green Lanterns looked fine. Yeah. Like the ones that stayed more traditional with their costumes but updated them, they all looked fine.
Yeah,
it's the ones that they drastically changed, like Darkseid.
Yeah. Not a fan of his power armor?
No, he doesn't need armor. He's Darkseid.
You're not wrong.
I mean, there's a reason Jack Kirby had him just running around looking at what looks like a bathrobe and boots.
Yeah.
Because he can kill you by looking at you.
Yeah. It's actually one of the things I don't like of all the modern interpretations of Thanos is they're like, yeah, look at all this plating and armor and stuff. And I'm like, the dude just wears a tunic and some blue tights. Like,
and that's one of the things I always felt like Darkseid, like he doesn't need armor or any of that.
Yeah.
Like he's walking up to you in just literally just a shirt.
A tunic and some boots. Yeah.
Showing you that there's no reason for him to carry a weapon or carry armor or anything else. He's Darkseid.
Right.
Darkseid is. Sorry.
Right. Oh. No, that's good. That's fine.
It's one of those things. Anyway, getting back all to the Young Justice stuff.
Yes.
They relaunched it, which I'm super happy because those characters had been so just
maligned,
left to the wayside and screwed up with the New 52 relaunch.
Yeah, that was in 2011, so it's been 8 years. And
there's a lot of love for these characters. Like people really love these characters.
Yeah.
And there's a new Robin, there's Damian,
right?
There's a new Superboy.
Yep.
So these characters kind of didn't have a place. So it's kind of like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And
right.
With Bendis going over to DC, that was one of the things he wanted to do was write Young Justice, which I'm so happy he's doing. I'm so glad he brought back Young Justice.
Yeah, especially after the popularity of the TV show. It was weird that they didn't have a Young Justice comic.
Because in bringing back the Young Justice show again for the it really didn't make any sense.
I don't know how true this is, but I have heard the reason they didn't have it is because Dan DiDio was just like, I don't understand the point of Young Justice. I don't understand the point of Young Justice.
Yeah, he something with him. He doesn't he can't stand Stephanie Brown. Spoiler.
All right,
that's one character.
No, you don't need to answer that.
But, I think it's kind of a politics kind of thing in between him and other people, but it's just like he pushes that character to the side. He doesn't understand Tim Drake or Connor. He doesn't get those characters, and he kind of thinks Bart's like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? We already have a Flash and a Kid Flash. What do we need an Impulse for? There's no point.
I don't know. Why do you need a Supergirl that's like one of the top shows on the CW then?
Yeah.
Right? You already have a Superman.
Exactly.
Why do you need Wonder Woman at that point? You have Superman, right? So like that argument falls apart real fast.
Yeah.
So
and one thing that they've been doing since Rebirth at DC is they're kind of bringing some of the old universe back in.
Yes.
That's something that they're establishing slowly with Doomsday Clock and everything. That like we're going to reintroduce some of these old points because we screwed up some stuff.
Yeah.
And people liked characters and things and defining moments.
Well, and Stephanie Brown and Cassie Kane were in Detective Comics.
Yes.
James Dean and the Force run was all about like Batman and Batwoman training all the sidekick characters.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, cool. We get spoiler or when she was Batgirl and
and they made a big point in the Detective Comics, like the last one that they did that run, the last time we saw Tim Drake or Stephanie Brown is Stephanie and Cassandra Cain got their memories back from the previous timeline, remembering that they were both Batgirls.
Yeah.
Because a big thing in the New 52 story arc is that they're always told that they don't have it. They don't have what it takes. They'll never be good enough kind of thing. And no, they were both Batgirl.
They both had done it.
Yeah. They were great.
Yep.
And Tim Drake also getting his memories back from that other timeline.
Yeah.
So, and those are going to be interesting things to see how they build on that with the story and everything.
Or if they even need to.
I think they should, because it's kind of integral to Tim Drake's character. Mm-hmm. He couldn't let something like that go.
No. But it's also, that's not necessarily something you need to bring up every issue or every story.
No, it's not.
Right?
It'll be interesting to see how they go with it. You know what I mean? And the last we saw of those two characters was they were going to go try to find their friends and everything. We haven't seen anything about Cassie Sandmark, Wonder Girl, since
the Teen Titans
she just
book was
disappeared.
Canceled.
She disappeared.
Yep.
Same with Connor Kent. We haven't seen anything of him since the New 52 started, because the Clone one was written out of existence. Like, that doesn't even count. It's not part of the when they remelded Superman back together. Mm-hmm. That got erased. That's not part of the timeline anymore. Right. And then Impulse, he hasn't been anywhere. He has not been mentioned. There's two Wally Wests.
Right. Huh.
He hasn't been mentioned since, again, well, actually, I shouldn't say that. The impulse that they had that wasn't actually Bart Allen, he had used the name Bart Allen and came back and everything. It wasn't actually Bart Allen. They had killed that character off pretty quickly in the Teen Titans run because people were just like, this isn't Bart Allen. What the hell are you doing?
Okay.
And so, nobody's been talking about these characters or anything. We briefly saw a couple of them during the Super Sons run.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, who are you? And they're like, you don't know us yet. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Everybody went like, what? What's going on? But Bendis brought these characters back, and he's doing good so far. He's doing good.
Okay, so 3 issues are out now.
Yeah, three issues so far. So it's hard to judge it too much, you know what I mean? Because it's only 3 issues, so you don't know where he's going with the characters or anything like that. But I did have a problem with one thing he did.
Okay.
And I feel like he fundamentally doesn't understand Connor Kent.
Okay.
He's been doing good with Cassie and everything, kind of showing her, dichotomy between I'm a god, but I'm a girl that's
but
going
I'm
to high
still a
school.
teenage girl.
Yeah,
and
just
have all
kind
that
of doing her
angst,
thing.
But yeah,
Tim Drake he's Robin. He knows where his place in the world is. He's Robin. He knows he's good.
Yep.
And he's got the confidence, got everything else. He's doing that part of it well.
Okay.
I like the way he's introducing Ginny Hex, who's a new character they're introducing.
Yeah, the daughter of Jonah Hex. Ginny Hex.
They're doing a bunch of Gem World stuff, which is stuff that hasn't been around for a long time. So that's fun.
I just picked up the whole run of Gem World a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I found all 12 issues for like $10, and I was like, well, I can't not get these. So.
Yeah, and even the stuff they've done in the comic book with where they've introduced Connor and he's in Gem World. And sorry for some spoilers on this. I'm trying not to get too involved in it.
Right.
But it's 3 issues in at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah. No crazy
spoiler.
Point. Yeah.
Young Justice exists. Yeah. These characters are in it.
They're on the cover. They're there. Okay.
Yeah.
How they're introducing Connor into the Gem World and everything is interesting. I'm liking that.
I like the new Teen Lantern as well.
Yeah, he's fun so far. Yeah. But the thing that I have a serious issue with as a fan of these characters and somebody I've read every single thing that Connor Kent has ever been in.
Okay.
Every single thing he's ever been in. Okay. I love him, Tim Drake, and Bart Allen. I was that age growing up, so I read those characters. I'm
going to interject here real quick. I'm going to say people will say I've read every appearance of these characters, and mostly they're like, okay, you've read a lot of them, or you've read every issue of Wolverine or whatever.
Yeah.
But not all of his appearances. No, Josh has actually read every issue of Superman, every issue of Action Comics,
yeah, most of
every
it's digital.
issue.
Sure, most of those I can't find.
But you've actually read all of that.
Yeah.
So when you say you've read every appearance of Connor Kent, I have no reason not to believe that.
I mean, there might be a one-off somewhere that I just haven't read.
Sure, or one you didn't know about or something.
Yeah, exactly. Because stuff like that happens. But as far as
we're talking over 95%.
Yeah, as far as Action Comics go, Superman, I've read every single one of those. And in the 80s, they had so many different versions of Superman being published every week.
Right.
I've read every single one of those.
Okay.
I've read the entire one. Yeah, I've read all the Teen Titans run. I've read all the Superboy runs, the Adventure Comics runs, everything, the entire Robin run. I, at one point, owned almost every single one of those physical issues of the Robin run, the Superboy run, and the Impulse run. Unfortunately, I had to get rid of my collection, but that's a whole other story.
Right.
But I loved Connor Kent. He was a great character, and they had so much growth with him and had changed his character over the years. He wasn't the, no, call me Superman, I'm a punk rocker, that he was when he was introduced in the 90s.
Right.
He had grown a lot. Yeah. And part of something that was core to his character was finding his place in the world, but also finding a family. He was a clone.
Right.
He literally had nobody. And that was from the beginning.
Right.
With Tana Moon in the very first issue was a reporter that was chasing around Superboy to... there was, and we were running out of time, so I don't want to get too much of it, but throughout his entire run, it's always him finding more family and going into Young Justice and Bart and Tim becoming his family.
Right.
To his relationship with Cassie. And their growing relationship and everything.
And even his maturing from wearing the leather jacket and the Superboy outfit with the 90s skater haircut to later on he had just the black t-shirt with the red logo with the pair of jeans. Yeah.
And that also showed a progress in his character from his development of a relationship with Clark as Superman. Right. Because Clark didn't want anything to do with him for a long time.
Yeah.
And then him overcoming the fact that he's half Lex Luthor. His DNA is literally half Superman, half Lex Luthor.
Right.
They're part of him overcoming, having to deal with that. Him developing a relationship with Ma Kent and her taking him in and him going to high school in Smallville. So he can have some semblance of a normal life to try to, to try to fit in and, not just be defined by the fact that he was a clone of Superman, kind of,
Right.
just really to give him a life. And that was something he had been fighting for and working towards and really embracing.
Yeah.
And for some reason in the comics, when Bendis brings this back, they show him right where he was at the end of the New 52, or the end of the last...
the pre-New 52 stuff,
I still can't think of how to say that. But
post-crisis.
They literally show him in the classroom. He was in Adventure Comics. Like, it's straight out of there.
Yeah.
And he stands up at the middle of the class, outs himself as Superboy, and flies out of class.
Yeah.
Effectively destroying the cover of Clark as Superman.
Yeah.
Exposing Ma Kent to God knows what kind of harm now, because everyone knows Superboy is
Connor
Kent,
who's living in Smallville,
living at Martha Kent's house,
right?
Who is the mother of Clark Kent, who writes about Superman all the time,
right?
And whose wife happens to get rescued by Superman quite a bit,
right? Yeah. So even if they don't know that, if they don't figure out that Clark is Superman, it's still
he did an insane regression back to the point where he came out of the capsule as a clone in his first memory, where like, no, call me Superman. Like suddenly he's back into that mindset character again in that one moment. But then a few pages later, and I don't want to give away the spoiler on it, but there's something that they show that like he's obviously matured and has a life,
right?
And it's such a it doesn't make any sense. It's such a drastic part from it. Like it does. It's just in that portion, it feels like Bendis doesn't know what the hell he's doing with that character.
It's interesting. When Dark Avengers was going on a few years ago, or a decade ago now, when that book was happening, people had the same complaint about Novar, the Marvel boy, right?
Yeah.
They were like, Grant Morrison's...
Correct me, he's the one that was a Skrull that can do everything, or no?
He was Kree.
Kree. Okay, that's right. He's the Kree one.
He was the Kree one with the there was a Grant Morrison miniseries where he had the white hair and the green and white outfit.
Is it Wiccan?
No, so you're confusing him with Hulkling on the Young Avengers.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I'm a DC guy.
Yeah, and there's so many weird teen Marvel heroes that have a short story that never get picked up again. But you're Gesundheit. When Bendis was doing Dark Avengers and he had Marvel Boy take over as Captain Marvel, there were a lot of people who were like, okay, first of all, he has literally... He's in like 2 issues and has no lines, and like then runs away when Moonstone hits on him, right? And then like we never see him again. People are like, what did you do with that, right? And then somebody wrote the Hood. I can't think of who wrote it. And then Bendis brought the Hood into Dark Avengers as well.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, this isn't that character.
Yeah.
And to Bendis's credit, he was like, you're right. Because I can't just write that story again.
Yeah.
I can't do their story again because we already have that story. If I do my version of that story, it's just going to be a B version.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we're 3 issues in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't know how Young Justice is going to play out exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be the person that writes the worst version of this in your head.
Yeah. No, and like I said, like there's so many other parts of the comic that are good. It's just that one part.
Just that one scene.
one section that it's like, this makes no sense whatsoever for this character. Like it's so out of place for that character that it breaks the immersion in the story.
Okay. Breaks your immersion.
Yeah.
Because I read them as well, and that didn't bother me at all. It was just like, oh, that's weird. I wonder if anyone's gonna, whatever. It's probably never gonna be touched on again.
Yeah, it's such a weird, and I get that universe doesn't exist anymore kind of thing,
Right.
So they literally, it's kind of like, who cares? It doesn't matter. But it's still, that's the character that's still here, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have.
It is a weird, and how does the time stream work, and how do the multiple universes work?
I'm sure they'll get into that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter. It still takes place at that moment in time, took place where it took place at.
Right.
So why would that character who had all this building up to that point act completely out of character? Like all of a sudden I'm just going to do what I want.
Yeah.
Like suddenly he's Cartman. Like it makes no sense. Like I do what I want.
Narrative convenience, I guess.
Yeah, it was just a bizarre thing, especially because he had spent so much time maturing over the years, and and that was one of the things is like he had a huge mature matured him big time in the comics.
Yeah,
he went from
being that.
From being that punk rock kid to actually being a hero. He sacrificed himself for the world. Like it's just weird. And then I don't want to get into more because we're running out of time, but and they've kind of erased the thing with him and Cassie so far. It looks like that doesn't exist. And that is a fundamental to those two characters. I felt like their relationship is, and we'll see what he does with spoiler because the next issue has spoiler on the cover of it, her and Tim.
Yeah,
and I'm scared because the alternate cover has Zatanna holding them in their hand, and Zatanna can do whatever the hell she wants to.
Right.
So I'm super scared that he's going to do something to my girl Stephanie.
Yeah.
So I'm worried because I like Bendis,
right?
And for me, his writing's either hit or miss.
Sure.
And like I said, I feel like he nailed Tim down perfectly.
Sure. Yeah.
But then the other
not everyone else.
Yeah. And then I have questions about time continuity and stuff because they Bart looks like he's still Impulse, but the last time Bart existed,
he was Kid Flash.
He was Kid Flash and much older. So then he goes into the questions is this one of his duplicates? Is this just a Speed Force version of Bart that came out?
I don't know.
Because he's talking about Young Justice getting back together, and he was Kid Flash. He wasn't Impulse anymore. He's calling himself Impulse. Just a lot of little things that they're keying in there that don't make any sense if he's so it's just so how does that work?
And quite frankly, Bendis could know what's going to happen at the end of Doomsday Clock, which is resetting or is potentially going to change a bunch of stuff in DC's timeline anyways.
Yeah, so it could not matter. None of it could matter, and all of a sudden these characters are completely changed again.
Right.
It's interesting because as a fan of the series for a long time,
or he could be working. He could be working on because this book Doomsday Clock is running so far behind. He could be working on what happened after Doomsday Clock, right?
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten to the end of that story, and they were like, well, we're not going to not publish this comic. So
who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
so
so it's just interesting. Well, and again, because I've read all those comics and I know those characters, it makes me go wait a minute, but a version of Bart came out of the Speed Force one time, and he was, 15 years older, and he became the Flash and ended up getting killed by the Rogues Gallery, and then the actual Bart popped out of the Speed Force again later.
Yeah.
And he has created duplicates of himself, and he became more mature, and which is what makes me question it because he's acting like Impulse of old before he saw himself get killed.
Sure.
Because in the comics, it was a major transition in that character where he duplicated himself and he watched one of them get murdered by somebody on Apocalypse, just straight up disintegrated, murdered. Ugh. And it would mess you up a little bit because that's a version of you from a different timeline that just got destroyed. So that messed him up and he became a little more mature, and then Deathstroke destroyed his kneecap, and he suddenly went
God, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and went, wait a minute, I have a photographic memory. I can learn everything and not be a dumbass when it comes to these kinds of things. And he did that, and he became a much more competent hero, and, was started a big growth. So, but then they're showing him, being Bucktooth Kid Impulse again.
Yeah.
Before he trained with Max Mercury. So it's just, there's so many questions I have.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing it get answered in the comics.
Yes.
So so it'll be interesting. But
one question I have, and we're out of time. So, but did you notice that Cassie is basically wearing the new Captain Marvel outfit now?
Yeah, and I'm really bothered by that because her old outfit was so much better when she was wearing because her and Connor kind of had just the plain man version of Wonder Woman and Superman. They were wearing jeans with a shirt basically.
Right.
Cassie had the red shirt with the W on it.
Right, and her new shirt is red on top. Then there's the gold W, and then there's the blue bottom part of the shirt. And I was like, that's Carol's outfit.
Basically, she's got the skirt, and it's just
the skirt I think is kind of cool, just because it harkens back to old Wonder Woman. Yeah, right. And I was like, all right, that's kind of neat. But she's got the leather jacket over it, and I was like, that just looks like Carol now.
For me, I guess it's just kind of because her, Stephanie, and then Kara. Supergirl, they had developed those two as such strong female characters with such a strong bond before the New 52, and then erased all of that. Yeah. And I feel like they've regressed on all of those characters now because they're all way more immature and they don't have that bond anymore. It was really weird. I
will say though, the connection that Batgirl and Supergirl have now is actually really cool.
We'll see, and that was Cassie, Stephanie, and
No, totally. But hey, when you reset the universe, some of those things are going to fall apart too.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with the rest of it. But all right, we got to go. I've been ranting too long, and we'll have to have a discussion on here one day about the Death Superman series and all that kind of stuff. Because I imagine there's stuff you want to talk about on that. Because I can see things popping in your head. So
I own it, and I got to sit down and read it all. And I read some of it again.
We got to do that one day. You got to reread it, and we'll sit down and talk about it because I can probably remember every page of it, right?
That's probably true. All right,
there's so much in there that's good.
Guys, we'll see you next week. We'll let you know what happened at WonderCon.
Let us know about which one of those movies you like better.
Yes, let us know. Super Mario Brothers or Street Fighter. Hit us up at Atomic Monsoon. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, later.
Peace.